You ever come home from a brutal work trip, dreaming of silence, your own bed, and maybe just a long drive with music so loud it shakes the trauma out of your bones, only to find your car missing? That was me, Tuesday afternoon, 5:12 p.m., keys in hand, travel bag still cutting into my shoulder. I walked into my parents' driveway. Yeah, I was still crashing there to save money, and the spot where my car always sat was empty. Not just parked elsewhere. Not just blocked in. Gone. At first, I figured maybe my dad moved it. Maybe there was a street sweep. Maybe, God forbid, Caleb borrowed it. So I went inside, dead tired, and found my mom stirring something that smelled like guilt and garlic. "Hey," I said. "Where's my car?" She didn't look up. "Oh, don't worry. It's fine." "No," I said slowly. "I didn't ask how it's doing. I asked where it is." That's when she blinked. Like she was just now remembering she owed me a better answer. My dad walked in behind me, wiping his hands with a dish towel that might have once been white. "Don't freak out, Evan," he said, which is the international guarantee that you're about to freak out. "What happened to my car?" They exchanged a glance. The kind that parents make right before telling you grandma's dead or that they accidentally RSVP'd you to a wedding you're not attending. Finally, my mom said, "We sold it." I thought I misheard. "You what?" "We sold it," she repeated, this time like it was obvious. "You weren't using it, and Caleb really needed the help." My brain went blank. Not angry. Just blue screen of death. My car, my charcoal gray Nissan 370Z, the one I'd saved for 5 years to buy, the one with the custom stereo I installed myself, was gone because Caleb needed help? "For what?" I croaked. My dad stepped in, like he was proud. "He's starting a cafe, Evan. His dream, remember? He finally has purpose." I felt like someone had punched me in the chest with a coffee mug. "You sold my car for Caleb's cafe?" I said, laughing manic wild, the kind of laugh that makes dogs nervous. "You don't even drink coffee." My mom muttered, half under her breath, like that made it okay. And that was the moment I knew I was about to say something unforgivable. So I didn't. I didn't say anything. I just turned around, walked to my room, and closed the door behind me like it was a coffin lid. Sat on my mattress. My backrest was still the suitcase I used on my last move. My throat burned with every unspoken word. They sold my car. No permission. No warning. Just gone. To help Caleb. The guy who once tried to mine crypto on an iPad and started a dog walking service despite being allergic to dogs. The same Caleb who had burned through every ounce of goodwill, and every cent of my parents' savings, on his many ventures. And this time? They gave him my car. I pulled up my bank app. No deposit. Not a dime. They didn't even give me a cut. Didn't even try to pretend I was part of the conversation. Just silence. Theft. And a brother who probably thought this whole thing made him an entrepreneur. That night I packed a bag. Nothing dramatic. Just clothes, chargers, and my spare key from the hook in the kitchen. I didn't say goodbye. I just left. And I didn't answer their calls for the next 3 days. Then came day 4. When their brand new cafe mysteriously caught fire. And the first number they dialed? Mine. The thing about my brother Caleb is, he always lands on his feet. Usually someone else's. In high school, he tanked his GPA but still got into a pricey liberal arts school because Dad knew a guy. Dropped out sophomore year after deciding, college kills creativity. Then came the DJ phase, the food truck phase, the I'm starting a podcast about crypto for dogs phase. Each crash came with a refund from my parents, emotional, financial, or both. Me? I worked nights at a gas station and took online classes just to finish my business degree. Caleb? He blew his refund check on a custom latte printer that made foam art of people's faces. That was the cafe's first signature feature. It launched 2 days after they sold my car. They called it the Brew Shed, which I guess was supposed to sound rustic and hip, like something you'd find next to a goat yoga barn. It looked like someone slapped reclaimed wood on a nightmare and gave it a TikTok account. I found out about the grand opening via Instagram. Caleb posted a selfie in a denim apron, holding a matcha latte topped with foam that looked suspiciously like his own face. The caption read, "Dreams do come true. Grand opening today. Couldn't have done it without the people who believed in me. You know who you are. Hashtag blessed, hashtag coffee king, hashtag brewshed opening." He wasn't talking about me. I watched the stories like I was flipping through pages of someone else's success story, except I knew the paper was forged. A drone shot of the ribbon cutting. My mom in a pastel dress hugging Caleb like he'd returned from war. My dad shaking hands with the mayor. A local news reporter calling it a family effort. And my car? Front and center in the lot. Still had my bumper sticker. Still had my license plate frame that read, "Work hard. Stay humble." I remember the day I bought that car like it was sacred. I'd saved for 5 years. Worked double shifts during school. Skipped spring breaks and birthdays. When I finally got the keys, I cried in the dealership lot. My parents? They barely looked up from their phones. My dad said, "Looks sporty. Just don't expect us to help with the insurance." Compare that to Caleb's coffee launch, where they were practically crying over steamed oat milk. I bet they even paid for his branded mugs, the ones that say, "Rise and grind like a legend." The night of the grand opening, my mom texted me, "Hope you're watching today, Red Heart. None of this would have been possible without you, winky face." The wink nearly sent me into orbit. Like selling my car was just a charming little plot twist we'd all laugh about one day. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my photos and found the one I took the day I bought the car, keys dangling in my hand, wearing a cheap button-up soaked in sweat, smiling like a man who thought effort still meant something. I deleted it. Then I went for a walk. No destination. Just me, the night air, and the creeping realization that I wasn't part of this family's story unless they needed something. They saw me as a tool. A favor. A human debit card. Caleb was the dreamer. I was the receipt. And now that he had his cafe, I wasn't just forgotten, I was used up. That night, I dug through my inbox until I found every scrap of proof I owned that the car had been mine: the title, the purchase invoice, the insurance card, even the text from my mom 2 years ago saying, "So proud of you for buying it all on your own." Then I opened a new folder on my desktop. I named it Evidence. And I started dragging files in. One by one. I didn't know exactly what I'd do yet. But I knew this much. They were going to regret treating me like a silent investor in Caleb's 6th failed personality. It was 4 days later when the fire happened. Not that I was counting. I'd just gotten back from a job interview, something remote, stable, with benefits, and was scrolling LinkedIn like a proper adult trying to convince himself life moves on. Then my phone buzzed. Mom. Declined. Dad. Declined again. Then a third call. Caleb. That one stopped me. He never called. He once DM'd me, LOL, after I got promoted, but never a phone call. Not even when I was in the hospital 2 years ago for a busted ankle. And now? 3 missed calls in 2 minutes? Then came the text. Caleb, bro, please answer. Caleb, the cafe. It's bad. Caleb, it's gone. Gone? I didn't respond right away. I stared at the message like it might explain itself if I blinked hard enough. I opened Instagram, because let's be real, if something happened to Caleb, it would be on social media before it hit the news. And there it was. A blurry video from someone's story. Smoke pouring out of the brew shed's roof. Fire trucks parked crooked across the road. A firefighter hauling out a steaming espresso machine. The caption? Guess the beans were over-roasted, fire hot beverage, hashtag bushedburn. I'm not proud of it, but I laughed. Out loud. Alone. I shouldn't have. But man, when karma has a sense of humor, it really goes for it. The next voicemail from Mom was frantic. Evan, call me back. The cafe, it caught fire this morning. It's bad. We think it started in the storage room. Caleb's freaking out. Please just call. No mention of sorry we sold your car. No, we messed up. Just we're in trouble. Time to summon the forgotten son. When I finally called, my dad answered. Evan. We need you. That was his opener. Not. Hello? Not. Are you okay? Not even. We're sorry. Just, we need you. What do you need? I said, tone flat as concrete. He paused, caught off guard. Its insurance might not cover everything. Some of the wiring upgrades weren't finalized. And the coffee equipment, Caleb financed it. Personal loans. High interest. I nearly choked. Wait. You financed an espresso machine but sold my car? Evan, please. This isn't the time for. No. I snapped. This is exactly the time. You torched my savings and handed it to a guy who couldn't keep a food truck alive, and now you want me to help clean up the ashes? His voice dropped into that soft, manipulative dad tone. The one that used to work on me. You're his brother. No, I said. I'm his donor. Big difference. There was a pause. And then the soft sigh of someone who just realized the magic words didn't work anymore. That's when my mom grabbed the phone. Sweetheart, listen. Caleb's heartbroken. He's saying he failed again. That he let us down. I'm scared for him. You should be, I said. Because failure means consequences. Something he's never had to learn. We're not asking you to bail him out. You're absolutely asking me to bail him out. I heard her voice crack. He's your brother, Evan. And you're my parents, I replied. But that never stopped you from treating me like I was Plan B. I hung up. No yelling. No theatrics. Just a clean click. I stared at my reflection in the dark phone screen, jaw tight, eyes tired, and I felt something unfamiliar. Power. Not power like revenge. Not I win. Just the freedom that comes when you finally stop begging for decency. That night, Caleb tried texting again. Caleb, I know we've had issues, but I really need you now. I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate. That was the thing. He would ask. Always. But never when he was winning. And now? Now he was just smoke and ash and a pile of roasted credit card debt. I didn't reply. But I did open that folder on my desktop. The one labeled Evidence. And I added a new note. Café destroyed. Verbal admission of unapproved car sale on voicemail. Check timestamp. They treated me like an ATM with emotions. Now? I was closing the account. The next 48 hours were a guilt trip Olympics. If there was a gold medal for emotional manipulation, my mother would have retired undefeated. I got a text every hour on the hour, each with a slightly different flavor of desperation. Mom, your brother hasn't eaten since the fire. He's not sleeping. Mom, he keeps saying he let everyone down. Mom, he asked if we think you hate him. Mom, please. Just call. She didn't ask if I was eating. Or sleeping. Or, I don't know, coping with the fact that they sold my car without permission. And then came the big one. Dad, Caleb took out loans in your name for some of the equipment. We were going to pay them off once the cafe made money. Dad, Evan, please don't freak out. I had to sit down for that one. Literally sat on the floor and stared at the message like it was a riddle written in betrayal. I called the bank. Sure enough, a small business equipment loan. In my name. Co-signed by my dad. Email authorization was sent from a fake Gmail account they created with my old username. Everything is digitally verified. I couldn't breathe. I wasn't just used. I was forged. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a car. It wasn't about coffee. It was identity theft. Financial sabotage. An emotional arson on top of the real one. I called Marcus. Dude, I said, pacing. They took out a loan in my name. For an espresso machine. There was a long pause on the other end. Then, is it weird that I'm impressed by the audacity? I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because if I didn't, I was going to scream into a pothole and never come back out. We spent the next 2 hours pulling records. Screenshots. Paper trails. The invoice from the dealership. My old credit reports. I called a lawyer friend of his, Chloe, who had the exact amount of rage needed to match my own. She didn't even blink. Oh yeah? This is fraud. Want me to nuke their credit or start with a cease and desist? Let's do this like a Netflix doc, I said. Slow burn. Let him sweat. Meanwhile, Caleb finally messaged me directly. And of course, he led with charm. Bro, I know things got messed up. I was desperate. I thought you'd be proud. This cafe was my dream. I needed you to believe in me, even if you didn't understand it. I never meant to hurt you. I sat with that one for a while. I almost believed him. Until I remembered that last Thanksgiving, he made a toast that ended with, "And here's to Evan, our silent investor." Emphasis on silent. Everyone laughed. Except me. I replied. You didn't just mess up. You committed fraud. You didn't ask for belief. You stole from me. The cafe burned down, and I didn't even blink. That should tell you everything. He replied within seconds. Caleb, you'd really throw away your own brother for a mistake? And that's when I realized something important. He still thought I was the one doing the throwing. As if he hadn't lit the match, and then expected me to blow it out while clapping for him. I didn't answer. Instead, I emailed Chloe. Subject, moving forward. Let's start with a letter of intent to pursue legal action. Make it formal, make it sharp. Let's see how loud they get when the silence finally ends. She replied in under 5 minutes. Sent. I closed my laptop, took a deep breath, and looked out the window at a city that kept turning no matter who lost their espresso bar. For once, I wasn't in the passenger seat of someone else's disaster. And I wasn't letting them drive anymore. They say you can't send a message and a warning at the same time. That's a lie. You just need a lawyer with nice fonts and zero tolerance for emotional blackmail. 3 days after Chloe sent the letter of intent, my parents finally stopped pretending this was all a misunderstanding. I got a voicemail from my dad. No pleasantries, just straight to rage. Evan, this is ridiculous. You're tearing the family apart over paperwork? You know your brother's heart was in the right place. Yeah, and my name was on the loan. But sure, let's prioritize vibes. Then came Mom's response. She always played soft cop. Evan, honey, we didn't mean to hurt you. It was a temporary solution. We were always going to make it right. You know when people say, we were gonna fix it. After you call them out? That's not a plan. That's a cover-up. The day after that, Caleb posted a long note-sap apology on his Instagram story. It read like it was written with a lawyer breathing down his neck and a chai latte in hand. To those I've disappointed, I made some big mistakes trying to chase my dream. I hurt people. Especially family. I'm reflecting. I'm growing. I'm still healing. Please respect my journey during this difficult time. The only thing he was chasing was a GoFundMe, which he linked immediately after the apology post. The caption? Help rebuild the bruise shed. Any donation helps. Even a share means the world. It had already hit $1,200. And yet, not a single word to my inbox. No personal apology. No attempt to undo what he did. Just curated shame and digital donations. I sent the link to Chloe. Her reply was instantaneous. If even $1 of that fund goes to a debt in your name, I'll have the whole site taken down in 6 hours. I replied. Make it 3. Meanwhile, I'd started climbing out of the mess they left behind. I got the job, remote marketing lead for a startup that sold eco-friendly cleaning products. Not glamorous, but the pay was decent and the benefits were unreal. First time I had dental in years. I moved out of Marcus's apartment. Signed a lease on a studio in a quiet part of town, filled with creaky stairs, cheap coffee down the block, and absolutely no espresso printers. I even got a new car. Not flashy. Just solid. Reliable. Mine. No one signed it out from under me. No one claimed it was a family investment. No one parked it in front of a doomed cafe and smiled for pictures. It didn't erase what happened. But it reminded me who I was when they weren't redefining me through guilt and gaslighting. A few days later, my dad tried again. This time, he didn't yell. He didn't plead. He warned. Evan, you're burning bridges you might need someday. I stood there in my new apartment, fresh groceries on the counter, laptop humming, bank accounts slowly recovering, and I finally saw it for what it was. A threat from a man who realized the bridge already collapsed. And I didn't need it. They needed me. They always had. But they didn't want me unless I was giving, sacrificing, or staying quiet. So I replied, "You built those bridges with stolen wood. I'm not crossing them again." Blocked his number. That night, I made myself the worst cup of coffee imaginable, instant, bitter, and cheap. And I sipped it slowly. Because I could. Because it didn't cost me my name. Because no one could take it away this time. It was a Thursday when I got the knock on my door. Not a phone call. Not a text. A literal knock. The kind that sounds rehearsed, like the person behind it practiced their opening line in the car mirror. I checked the peephole. Mom. Pearls, cardigan, folder in hand, like she was pitching a timeshare instead of fixing a family. I opened the door halfway. She smiled like nothing had ever gone wrong. "Hi, sweetheart." I didn't smile back. "You know you can just email me." She held up the folder. "I thought this would be better in person." "Why?" I asked. "So you could see if I flinch when you say Caleb's name?" That one landed. Her mouth twitched, just a little. "I just want to talk," she said. "You're holding a folder." "It's an offer," she admitted. "To make things right." I opened the door a little wider, just enough to grab it. Didn't invite her in. Inside, a buyout. $70,000 to settle the forged loan. Drop all legal action. NDAs attached. Everyone walks away like this was a weird family game night, and not financial fraud. I laughed. 70 grand, I said. "That's what you think this cost me." Her voice softened. "It's what we can manage. Things are tight." "Right, because opening a hipster cafe with reclaimed barn wood and oat milk fountains was a lean operation." "You're being difficult," she said. Like I was the one selling other people's property on Facebook Marketplace. I pointed to the last clause of the NDA. "This literally says I can't talk about what you did to anyone. Not friends, not online, not a lawyer. It's standard. It's a muzzle." I snapped. "You didn't come to make things right. You came to erase what happened." She tried again. "Your father and I are lucky I haven't pressed full charges." I cut in. "You're not here for closure. You're here because you're scared I finally have more power than you." That one hit harder. She stopped blinking. Her face dropped all pretense. For a moment, she looked exactly like she did the day I bought my car, unimpressed and inconvenienced. "This is what happens when you act like you're better than your family," she muttered. I stepped outside, pulling the door shut behind me. "I'm not better," I said. "I'm just finally done being worse off because of you." She left without another word. Didn't take the folder back. That night, I shredded the NDA. Not because I needed to, just because it felt good. Then I poured myself a glass of wine, logged into LinkedIn, and updated my bio to include experienced in personal branding, digital marketing, and surviving family-sponsored identity theft. Got 4 job offers the next week. Marcus and I laughed about it over drinks. "You should teach a master class," he said. "I'll call it How to Burn Bridges Without Setting Yourself on Fire," I replied. Then, as if summoned by sarcasm, I got a new text. This one from an unknown number. "Natalie, hey. Heard about everything. Want to talk?" Natalie. The cousin who once said I had that resentful older sibling energy. Because I didn't clap hard enough when Caleb debuted his Candleline for Men. I replied. "Unless you're holding a check and an apology, don't waste the ink." She didn't respond. But Mom did, the next day. "Mom, just so you know, your brother's living with us again. He's depressed. Barely leaves his room. Are you happy?" I stared at the message for a long time. Not angry. Not smug. Just done. Then I replied. You raised him to believe the world owed him something. I just stopped paying the bill. Blocked her number. That was the last time I heard from her. For now. It took about 3 months before I felt like myself again. The legal stuff? Handled. Chloe sent one final notice that shut down Caleb's GoFundMe campaign with the efficiency of a guillotine. The bank reversed the loan and flagged my parents' account. Their financial plan had officially been labeled what it always was, delusion in a spreadsheet. I didn't sue. I didn't need to. The silence was punishment enough. The kind of silence that echoes into people's bones. No texts. No voicemails. No Christmas card pretending to be neutral ground. Just absence. Clean, cold, clarifying. I got promoted. My boss said I had an edge now. I smiled and told her I'd sharpened it myself. I bought another car, not flashy. Not, look at me. Just reliable. I parked it exactly where the old one used to be before it was auctioned off in the name of oat milk dreams. Sometimes I'd walk past it with my morning coffee and nod, like we were both survivors of the same storm. One morning I opened the glove box and tucked a note inside. This time, no one drives but me. A bit dramatic? Sure. But it felt right. And then, on a crisp Saturday morning, I did the thing I'd rehearsed a dozen times in my head. I drove to their house. Not to talk. Not to fight. Just to drop something off. It was a folder, thick, stapled, sealed. Inside, a copy of the finalized bank report, a printed version of my statement to the fraud investigator, and a sticky note that said, I told you I wasn't bluffing. No signature. No return address. Just closure, wrapped in office paper and boundaries. I left it in their mailbox. I don't know what I expected. Maybe a dramatic voicemail. A half-baked apology from Caleb with jazz piano behind it. Or a news story about how they were just trying to teach me resilience. But I got none of that. The only thing I saw was a notification 2 days later. Caleb had deleted all his social media accounts. The Brew Shed's online presence vanished like it had never existed. All that remained was a Yelp review from a guy named Trevor who wrote, Foam art was great. Fire insurance? Not so much. And then? I lived. Actually lived. I hosted a barbecue at my new apartment. Tiny balcony, mismatched chairs, $5 wine from Trader Joe's. Marcus brought chips. Chloe brought a Bluetooth speaker and case. I made everyone coffee from a 12-year-old drip machine that wheezed every time it brewed, like it hated being alive but loved its job. I even slapped a sticker on the side that said, Brew Shed 2.0, now 100% fireproof. When I brought out the tray, Marcus raised his cup and said, To Evan. The only man who's been through a roast and still came out bold. Everyone groaned. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped the tray. And in that moment, surrounded by people who saw me, not just used me, I realized something. I didn't need revenge. I needed room. Room to breathe. To exist. To enjoy a cup of coffee without it costing me my name, my credit score, or my sanity. That was worth more than any payout. The only time I thought about Caleb again was at a farmer's market. There was a booth labeled, Small Batch Candle Company. Lavender. Coffee. Ash. The sign said, Locally made. Family owned? I didn't stop. Didn't take a photo. Didn't tell anyone. But I did smile. Not out of bitterness. Out of freedom. Because walking away hadn't made me cruel. It made me honest. And that silence? It wasn't cheap. It was earned. 2 weeks ago, I got a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A letter, stamped, folded, sealed. Like it was sent from a time when people still believed in second chances. The handwriting was my dad's. Sloppy, always slightly leaning right, like it was in a rush to make a point. Inside were 2 pages. The first was a typed apology, mechanical, lawyer-approved. He admitted they should have handled things differently. That they made mistakes under pressure. That they were rebuilding trust as a family. A whole paragraph about Caleb, trying again, with a new candle business and learning to stand on his own. The second page? A check. $30,000. Not even half of what they owed me, and stapled to the corner was a note. This is all we can do for now. Please consider starting fresh. It wasn't signed. Love. Just. Dad. Like I was a distant client in a mildly irritating legal matter. I didn't cry. Didn't rage. Didn't even shred it. Instead, I walked it over to my kitchen table, made myself a cup of instant coffee, the gritty, bitter kind that tastes like defiance, and used the check to keep the mug from wobbling on the uneven table. A little pedestal of fake forgiveness. Later that night, I took a photo, not of the check, but of the whole setup, my chipped mug, the crooked table, and above it, pinned to the wall, the license plate frame they didn't bother removing when they sold my car. Work hard. Stay humble. I posted it to my private story, visible to exactly 3 people, Marcus, Chloe, and surprisingly, Natalie, who'd recently sent a real apology. Not performative. Just honest. None of them replied. They didn't need to. But Marcus did text me a single emoji. Hot beverage fire. I chuckled. Sipped. Let the bitterness sit on my tongue. Not because I love coffee, I still don't. But because no one could take it from me now. The peace. The space. The ability to live without always looking over my shoulder for the next favor, disguised as family. I left the check on my table for a full week. Every morning I asked myself, what would the old me do with this? He would have tried to fix things. Thought, maybe this is them changing. He would have deposited the money and called it healing. He would have gone to dinner with them and smiled too hard, trying to convince himself it was safe. But I wasn't that guy anymore. I'd earned scars and clarity in equal measure. On Sunday, I took the check, folded it once, and slid it into a thank you card. One of those blank ones with a watercolor sunset on the front. I wrote exactly 3 words inside. Thanks for the lesson. Then I mailed it back. No note. No explanation. Just closure. The next week, I got a voicemail from my mother. No tears. Just her voice, strained and small. We got your card. I hope you're happy. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about that. I was happy. That weekend, I went to the coast. Solo trip. Booked a cabin with no Wi-Fi. Brought a stack of old notebooks I used to write in when I was a teenager. Back when I still believed families didn't do things like sell your car and forge your name. One entry stood out. Someday I'll have a place no one else has a key to. I read that line and smiled. Then I underlined it. Twice. Back at home, I framed that page and hung it above my desk, right next to the first bill I ever paid with my new job. A little tribute to past me, who kept pushing even when no one clapped. And in case you're wondering, yeah, I still make bad coffee on purpose. It reminds me I'm not trying to impress anyone anymore. Because surviving betrayal is one thing. But building peace? That's the real win.